Depth of field is the amount of distance between the nearest and farthest objects that appear in acceptably sharp focus in a visual image. A preferred selection depth of field, DOF, in a focused subject in an image can be quite subjective. Remember this, adequate selection of DOF for one situation, application may be unacceptable for another visual image. It is all a matter of personal preference when trying to determine the appropriate use of depth of field to enhance an effect in a visual image itself. The RedRock has the ability to use 35mm lenses in your films, and it gives you a filmic look. You decide what's in focus and what's in soft focus, and it just doesn't let you do that if you don't use RedRock and use the regular lens on the camera. Hi, I'm Jeff Bunting. I'm going to show you how to use the RedRock micro system on a Panasonic HD camera today. These are the basic components you're going to need to set up a RedRock. It's the Panasonic HD camera, the Acromat, the hard mount, the M2, the base plate for the camera that is going to support the RedRock through the supporting rods. This is the follow focus gear, a 50mm lens, a strap that holds the focus on your camera so you don't go out of focus in the RedRock system, and the follow focus tool. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take the lens hood off of the camera, which simply comes off just with a twist. And then you're going to want to make sure there's no UV lens covering your camera lens. You're just going to want to twist it off if it's on, just like so. So the second thing I like to do is put the RedRock base plate onto my camera. It simply just slides on. And you'll hear it click. Take the Acromat lens and just attach it to the front of the camera, and it'll just twist right on there, no problems. Just twist it on so it's about finger tight. You don't have to crank it on there. These are fragile pieces. So now the second step, you can do it two ways. You're going to want to attach the M2 to the Acromat, but there's two ways you can do it, and that's using a soft mount, which is this rubber coupling, which screws onto the M2, and then it'll just slide on and grip to the Acromat like so. But the way I like to do it is to use the hard mount coupling, which will simply screw onto the M2. So you just twist it on there, and like before, you want it tight, but you don't want to crank it on there or anything. Just finger tight so it's not going to come off. You're just going to put the hard mount onto the Acromat like so, and you're just going to twist this ring here. But you want to be careful that you don't loosen the ring that's attached to the M2 itself. So now that I have my M2 attached to my camera, this is nice and tight now. I'm just going to take my supporting rods here and guide them through the bottom of the M2. There's two guiding holes, and they'll just slide right in. And I like to give about half of an inch of leeway onto the camera, and then you just tighten down these screws here, and that rod is now firmly in place. And you're just going to want to do the same thing on the other side. So now that you get your guides in place and your M2 securely onto your camera, now I'm going to focus onto the piece of glass inside the M2 using the focus ring on the camera before I put my Canon lens onto the M2. To the viewfinder here, you can see that there's a white piece of glass, and this is looking inside the M2. Now I'm just going to want to zoom in until I can see the edge of the glass there. And I'm just going to want to use the manual focus here. See there, it's out of focus. I'm just going to want to pull until that is clearly in focus. You can also see some grain on the glass here. It might help you get that perfect focus as well. So now I'm going to take my 50mm lens, my Canon lens, and I'm going to attach it to the M2 here. You just want to twist this gray ring here, and that'll simply be able to take off the cap on the back. And there's two tabs here on the front. You just pinch them and the front cap comes off easily. So now when you're attaching the lens, you see this little gray dot. You're going to want to line up the small red dot on the lens. First, you're just going to want to twist this until you hear it click. Right there, locked. And it should just simply twist on. Before I go any further, I'm going to take my strap here, wrap it around the manual focus ring on my camera, and just Velcro it on. And this is going to prevent me slipping and bringing my M2 system out of focus. So now that my lens is attached to the M2 system, this lens is going to be how I'm going to pull my focus. I'm not doing any settings with the camera now. It's all in the lens. So this follow focus tool is going to attach to the bars and it'll allow me to pull focus quite easily. So the follow focus should slide right onto these supporting rods. And you're just going to want to line it up with your lens. Okay, so these follow focus gears here, they come in 3 different sizes. As you can see, the rods on the inside are all different lengths, and this is for different sizes of lens. So now that I got my gear onto my lens, I'm going to want to line up the prods with the rigid part, which is like the grip for when you're focusing the lens here. So I'm just going to line it up, hold it on there, and I'm just going to tighten this bolt down. I don't want it too tight, but you just want it snug so when you're pulling the gear, it's going to turn the lens. So now that my gear is on my lens, nice and snug, I want to keep the bolt mechanism here close to the follow focus. That way when it's turning the lens and pulling focus, it's not going to turn all the way around and hit my follow focus device, thus preventing me from getting the full capabilities of the lens. So now with the follow focus on the guide rings or the rods, you can just adjust it. You want to line it up and push the smaller gear onto your large gear on the lens so they line up like that. Then you just use the bolt on the bottom to tighten it on. So now my follow focus is attached, and as you can see, when I turn here, my lens is going in and out of focus now. And also when you're pulling focus, the beauty about the follow focus is that you have this white area here, which you can use like a non-permanent marker and mark your focus. So let's say your subject's in focus there. You'd mark it, and then you go back and you'd mark there. That way you can easily go back and forth. So now that my RedRock system is fully set up, let's go have some fun.